Hey guys, how's it going? Value Venture Investing here today. So today we're going to be talking about Virgin Galactic. Now they just released their Q2 2025 earnings, and I'm going to be giving you guys the lowdown on the earnings here. I'm going to go through their earnings. I'm going to give you my opinion as to where the stock's going from here and what I think is going to happen. Now, Virgin Galactic and even the last 6 months is down 16%. I mean, over the last 5 years, this thing's lost like 98% of its value. Since my last video, again, it's been down. And after hours, after these earnings, it was initially up. And I'm recording this before market open on Friday. But after market here, it is down about 2.65%. Depending on when you see this video, who knows, it might be up. But I'm going to tell you where I think this stock may be going. Now, I added a little something different here. I'm added to the EPS. I think that this is something that I should add going forward. So just so you know if you see that as well. But we're talking about Q2 2025. Revenue is $406,000. Now that was basically right in line with their estimates in terms of their guidance. They were saying about $400,000. But again, that's down massively, 90% year over year. Of course, we know that's because they paused their space flights and they're focusing on building their Delta ships. Net income was a loss of $67 million. That was an improvement over the $93 million, but we're going to get into why that was the case when we get a little bit more granular here. I'll explain that to you guys. So we've seen that progressively drop, and we're going to talk about that. EPS was a loss of $1.47. And again, because of the improvements that we've seen here, that was down about 66%, so not so bad. It was a loss of $4.36. Cash is over $500 million. Dropped from last quarter. We had 535, 656, 743. So it's been dropping. They've been diluting as well, but I mean, this is a pretty cash-intensive time in the business right now. It's down 38% year over year. But that's something to be expected. We'll get more into the dilution and that kind of thing after. In terms of their income statement, again, like I said, revenue was $406 million. That was versus 406,000, versus 4.2 million a year ago. Now, the operating expenses is what's making the big difference here, right? Research and development has dropped significantly, but that is because they are now going to be having that in capital expenditures. And if I can show you right now as well, that's going to show up on the balance sheet as property, plant, and equipment. You can see 305 million versus 209. So it shows up on the balance sheet, but also you're going to see some depreciation amortization increase as well because it's shown as PPE, right? So this huge reduction here in R&D is obviously making the operating loss a little bit less bad. So we've talked about this the last couple of quarters, but the total operating expenses were only $70 million versus $106 million. So it's just basically how they're characterizing this different. So it may look better on the surface, but there's a reason for it, right? The operating loss was $69 million versus 101. A couple of little things here. Interest income's gone down, of course, because they're not making as much money on their investments. Their interest expense, strangely enough, I mean, tell me why if you guys know anything about this, really hasn't gone down much, probably because they're servicing more debt there. So their loss before taxes was $67 million versus 93, and their net loss was $67.2 million versus 93 million before, right? I like to do the total comprehensive loss. They're including their, unrealized loss on marketable securities. Well, it's unrealized, right? So they haven't realized it, but they still include it in here as well. So that's the one I'm using. Negative 67 million versus negative 93 million. Better from a year ago quarter. And basic and diluted. Let me zoom this out here for a bit here for you guys. Was $1.47 versus 4.36. So an improvement there as well, right? And here we can see how many shares because they've been diluting. Again, every quarter's gone up. 45 million versus 21 million. They also did some more dilution this quarter, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. We talked about the balance sheet, cash. We talked about how much cash they have. You can see that on here. Nothing else too interesting. In terms of their statement of cash flow, you can see here their capital expenditures. This is for the last 6 months. You can see again, how that's increased significantly as well. Proceeds in the last 6 months of common stock, 86 million versus 71. So they're obviously issuing more common stock and diluting. And there's even transaction costs. So I mean, I've said to you guys before, I'm not a big fan of this, but a company in this position, yeah, we're going to talk more about this at the end of the video. It's something you have to do. They either have to tap debt, or they even have to tap equity. In terms of the slides, I'm going to go through these pretty quick because as we talked about in the last video, they're making these videos now. And since last quarter, they've only done 3 videos. So it's basically, giving you an update on the whole thing because not a lot is going on right now. It's all just focused on Delta, essentially, right? And next year, we're going to talk about this. Next year, hopefully at the end of the year, getting into those private astronaut flights, but it seems to be taking forever, right? To go through some of the photos, this is our oxidizer tank, the controls for it. So basically these are rocket systems. I'm just going to go through to show you guys this much because they didn't say that much about it. But if you're interested to see the photos here quickly, here it is. These are the avionics and flight controls. Basically they were talking about here how they can test it, right? Something similar to the slides that we saw last quarter as well. Some of their mechanical systems, these tanks, they're going to provide oxygen. They're going to do a lot of other different functions on the ship, nose landing gear. So a couple images here as well. Fuselage bulkheads. We saw this last quarter as well, but this is kind of giving a couple different more views of it as well, right? And then also the feather boom skins. Basically, there's I will talk a little bit about this as well, but this is slowed down. I believe it was the feather boom skins. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's kind of slowed down. Their research flights were supposed to be mid next year, but now they're saying fall. I'm not so concerned about that. I think most people are more concerned about the private astronaut flights, right? But they did speak about that as well. Actually, it might have been the wing skins as well. The wing skins here, we got the upper, the lower. Basically, they talked about that. And if you want to see more about this, you can watch the videos. They're talking about a lot about how they need another launch vehicle program, another launch vehicle essentially, right? And also, we talked about this last quarter. This is for, governmental research, private research. We're going to talk about a new deal, tentative deal, it sounds like, that they have right now. But first, we're going to talk about their financial results. Like we said, 400,000 versus 4.2 million a year ago, and this is primarily due to a decrease in the pause of commercial space flights to focus on efforts on the production of new spacecraft. So we know this as well, right? Operating expenses were 70 million versus 106, and again, like I said, this reflects the shift from R&D to capital investments, right? So that's something that's changes it notably, but also a reduction as well in their overall cost structure. Net loss of $67 million versus $94 million in the prior year period. Again, they're saying that this is primarily due to the improvement in lower operating expenses. Free cash flow was a negative $114 million in each of the second quarters of 2025 and 2024. And again, like here, we're seeing more dilution, raised $56 million in gross proceeds as well. But basically we knew that was coming. In terms of their cash flow and balance sheet, free cash flow, like I said, was negative $114 million. Their Q3 guidance, they're saying it's going to be about a loss of $100 million, $110 million. And then they're saying it's kind of moderate. It will go down a little bit after that. We've talked about their cash here as well. I'll put this slide up for 2 seconds. Every quarter they show this slide, and I've explained it so many times. And at this point, it's kind of like we need to see the numbers. They've been speculating for so long. In terms of the conference call, really not much here either, right, guys? It was pretty short. Like I said, the research was pushed to the fall. Private astronaut flights still are expected for the fall of next year, so we'll see what's going to happen with that. It almost sounds like it might be late fall, and so I wouldn't be surprised if it was pushed to the next year, even from there. They had some news that they're collaborating on a feasibility study with the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, but gave no more details on that. So they talk a lot about research flights, governmental. This came out, and then nothing on that. No news on the ticket price. Still they're saying around 600K. Before they said they were going to raise it. Now they're saying, well, I can't see that falling. So nothing on that as well. A couple analyst questions on terms of the spaceport Italy. It's still in the feasibility study, but they mentioned briefly that might be like 2030. So that's pretty far out as well. Of course, they issued 15.7 million shares of common stock and diluted. In terms of their guidance, I didn't see any revenue guidance, which is strange. Usually there's some sort of revenue guidance. I imagine it's probably, maybe I missed it, but it's probably kind of in line to what we're at right now. Now, my opinion on the stock, guys, I still hold just a very small portion in my portfolio. That was just a speculative portion, but my opinion, this is dead money. And I've kind of alluded to this and said it before as well. It's going to take a lot to move this stock. They need to really start delivering, and it just seems to be all lip service right now. So I don't really have much hope for even a year, right? That's a long time. So I don't expect this thing to do much. If anything, perhaps still go down. It's diluting. They're not seeing any real progress. The progress that they're having is kind of being inhibited a bit. So yeah, pretty bearish on the stock, guys. I think it's going to be dead money for quite some time, but I'd love to know what you guys think. And let me know if you want me to continue to cover them, maybe just cover them a bit quicker because there's not that much news. Potentially just going to their financials a little bit here, right? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, guys. Subscribe, helps a lot. And I'll see you in the next one.